My fault. I just realized I broke the countdown screen, I guess. I went back and looked at it, and it was at like 4 minutes for for quite a while. I don't know what the deal was there. What's up? What up? What up? What up? What's good, Golden Glow? He said, what up, Evergreen? Do you need anybody? Do you need a guest today? I think we're going to have Zoot come up later and help us out with the Zeds tool. But if that doesn't happen, if we ever need someone to hop up, I'll definitely hit you up. What's good, Andy Mack? What's good, Dallas? What's good, Upscale? What up? What's up, Sniper? All right. So plan for today is let's go over the plan for today. It's about day 5 of this Keep on Winning Cup. So we've got Keep It 100. We've got the horse I bred. All right, so let's go over it. The horse that I bred yesterday, or not bred yesterday. I bred it like 4 days ago, but I didn't get it until yesterday. This is the horse, remember? And I was having a hard time naming it. And I tried to name it In Due Time on stream yesterday, but then it said it was forbidden. What's up, Genesis? And so I came in, I named it In Due Time. And he's actually pretty good. So if we go to his Know Your Horses page, at 1,400 meters and 1,000, he's doesn't show him in this stable. What up, Andy Mack? What up? What up, Genesis? So this is In Due Time. Bred him yesterday, the Z5 exclusive. So I took the Z4 exclusive Nakamoto, bred from Diamonds. And I went and bred into a Z1 from Satoshi Stable Stallions. And yeah, not bad. So 1,200 meter, 5th place. And then we got racked off 3 wins in a row at 1,000 meters. Now we stopped pulling flames right here. And I was like, well, I'm still going to stay in the sprinters category. I'm just going to switch distances since we lost flames. And so I moved to 1,400 and continue to pull flames. Now, what up, man? How's it going today? It's going good, Avon. It's going good, man. Pretty good, if I do say. So yeah, I got... I think it was Crimson and Catch Me Riding Derby. They both said that they test out the spectrums when they first test out a horse, and I found that super helpful. So starting at 1,000 meters or 2,600 meters to figure out, or just to cross one off and figure out if your horse is a sprinter or a marathon. So for him, I started at 1,000, and I was like, all right. We won, or we placed, and we flamed. So I'll just stay here until we flame. Or if I wouldn't have flamed and if I would have lost, I would have just went to 2,600 meters. So that's In Due Time. Bred him, named him yesterday, actually. And then we still have Keep It 100, who I believe if we go to 15, we should be up here still. Ooh, we might have fell a little bit. All right, well, we got a race today. Hey, Papi. What's good, Zook? What's good? Shoot me the link. I got you. Hold up. I'm going to have, okay, hold up. Let me pull it up on the other screen. Let me hop in a race while I'm doing this. So I'm looking for Keep It 100, 1,400 meters, I believe. Yes. 1,400 meters for Keep It 100 and 1,400 meters for In Due Time as well. So I believe they're both in Class 3. And I'm just going to keep it up with the free racing just to try and qualify. But we'll pull Zook up. He said, Zook, what's up, man? Can't wait to hear your take on the Zed. All right, let's pull him up. I sent it to your Discord. All right, let's pull this back up. Pull Zed Run up. Pull chat up. All right. We were gonna look at Upscale's horse. So I got one horse. So you guys can start shooting in your horses. We'll take a look at them, and Zook will break down the Zed. He says, my horses won't D-class at free. They keep losing, and then they get in top 3 at Sniper. Tell me about it. What's good, Zook? So I think what we're gonna have to do is I think we should go off of your screen. I'll shoot you horses, and then you share your screen, and I'll show it on stream. Yeah, allow. Allow to multi-pin, allow. So yeah, you should be able to share your screen. Okay, hold up. View. What the Frank? 1 second. What up? So like my thought is if you share your screen, I'll look at the chat and shoot you the horses, and then you can just kind of walk through Zedge. I gotta I did it. I've done this before to share, allow people to share screen. I just gotta remember how to do this shit. Hold on, view. No, I can hear you. Oh, that's my fault. That's on me. All right, go ahead now.
What's up, everyone?
All right,
No, what I was saying was just from like a breeding and general sense of different philosophies. I've done a lot of research because I'm a huge skeptic when it comes to this stuff. With everything, I'm a huge skeptic, which causes me, I think, a lot of times to maybe play devil's advocate a lot and like look for maybe the opposite side of things. But I've been looking deeply into what Zedge means, and I think my understanding of what base ability is right at this point is it takes all your races at 1600 meters. It looks at what class and how much money was in the pot, the entry level, and then looks at the speed that you placed in that race and compares it to other speeds of the same races, whatever the same people finished in your spot. So, okay, I'm bad with my words. You're much more of a wordsmith than me. Let me try that again. So if I run sixth place in a C5, $20, it looks at all the other sixth place in C5 $20 and see how my speed matches up to those speeds. And that's how it's kind of determining base ability.
And so it's not taking account into free races, right? So it's only paid 1600 meters, and then it's speed. So it's not how you finish; it's how fast you're running.
It takes placement into account, but again, it's taking your placement as the input to then compare the speed. So if you get sixth, the reason why your sixth place matters is because it's looking at other people that place sixth and seeing what their speed was. So that's nice because, look, if you finish 12th in a C2 1600 meter $5, but in the average race, your speed was good enough to finish third, you just played a tough field, this is going to pick up on that because this is basing your speed against everybody else at that distance and dollar amount. It's almost like every single race you do is again at 1600 is against every other horse running for that same dollar amount in that class.
Okay. So then it would really only matter, like, you're really only basing yourself, if you think about it, against the left-leaning horses. Because if it's a low sample size and it's a U shape, right, and someone's only ran it 3 times at 1600 meters, they still could get the back end of the U, right? If that's just like a low sample size, so then it wouldn't really take that horse into account.
But why? Let me just, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe you're asking, what if the other side like, couldn't the other side happen also?
And then
like,
it would just it would look really strong, right? Because then it would maybe like 3 races. So like that's what I'm saying. Like, what's a sample size on how much races like a horse should have, so like that's a real ABA compared to its EBA.
Like, it's kind of the feel, right? Like you just kind of have a sense. Like, as much as I want to say there's horses that I breed because they've ran 3, races at 16. I say their base ability is high. I know just as much as anyone that could be so skewed, like you're saying, but at least you can hope for it. I would say you need, just like when you're figuring out a horse, at least 5 to 10. And they say that themselves, the confidence levels are tied to the amount of races. That's the exact correlation. The more you run, the more you could put emphasis into your score. And that's why since this came out, we got it, my stable has thought about with some of our Genesis, just running the $2 1,600 races to see if their base ability scores are actually what they are. Because right now there could be some drastic differences between a horse's base ability and their offspring's general base ability. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that some of these that we think are good or are bad are just not ran nearly enough yet at that distance.
Okay. I figured out how to share the screen, so you can take control. I got like technical difficulties trying to get my chat back up, so you can take the
Oh, no,
lead.
you're good.
So I'll try and get chat up, and you can go ahead and walk us through Zed.
Share my screen. All breeds. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Share. Oh, damn it. Did I do stop share? Record screen, screen 2, share. All right, I'm over here now. All breeds. Is my Zed up on the
yeah, you want to go base. All right, because I'll start recording this. You want to just go base layer, and where should we start? Like,
you know how I operate.
All right,
so
let's go.
Walk it through, and I'll go. Like, you're much better at, like, I'll tell you everything that I know about it, but you tell me like where you want us to start, and then how you want me to go with it.
It's just fuck it. Just click breeding theory. Let's just start there.
Okay.
Because honestly, when I got this, I didn't even read this shit.
Yeah, and I didn't read it till yesterday in getting ready for this, because when I realized I was going to do this, I was actually asking around, like, please come on me. I don't actually know about this. And people didn't want to come on. So I'm like, damn, I actually got to know what I'm talking about. So I spent time with this. So glossary of metrics, base ability. In Zed, base ability refers to a horse's innate speed. Remember, the speed, inherited from its sire and dam. Base ability is independent from the horse's distance preference and variance assignments at birth. It is often presented in terms of what class the horse would settle into without the presence of the other two variables. This goes to a question in the chat, why 1,600? It was said a long time ago that 24 and 2,600 were added distances, and 16 is the actual middle. So what that would mean is if 16 is actually the middle, there's no preferences related to that speed at all. If you're good at 16, you're good. You're a good horse, because that's the only distance at all where it takes nothing into account besides just running. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. Can you run at 1,600? Nothing else. So I'll stop there and I'll throw it back to you. Now that when you hear that, and I'm sure you at least knew, you knew that much before going into it, kind of like 1,600 is this distance and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What are your feelings around how much you buy this 1,600 as the all-knowing distance?
Yeah, I totally buy into it, because my first horse is Diamonds, like that 1,600 meter, and like it makes sense that he's so high in the 1,600 meter base ability. I mean, it's kind of weird when you look at it on here, but just like even before I had this tool, so yeah, he's right. ABA is right on EBA then, so he's right on what he's expected for base ability. So how do you look
Here's
at
the
that?
other number though.
What are we looking at there?
So that means his offspring, the offspring's average ABA is 2.4, which is 0.7 higher. That for me, the number to decide if I want to start breeding out the horses is obviously the horse's ABA. But then this number over here slowly becomes just as important, if not more, because this is another thing I'll throw back to you that I haven't told too many people, but it's another theory that I'm just personally coming up with. I think another thing with breeding is not only going to be one half of it is going to be how good of a breeder you are, but the other half is going to be how strong you pass down your lineage. Like I see a lot of horses that are like really high ABA, but just all the time, go low offspring. It can work the other way. If you have someone that has a really low base ability, but your horse doesn't pass on their ability at all, then all you have to do is go to the stud farm and pick up a good producing horse, and that horse will pass down its value. So if that were to become a thing, which I think it is, this number becomes valuable because this says even though that Diamonds is average for a Z2, what it's producing is 0.7 higher on the Zed score, which is a 2.4. What you got to do here is then type in the data ID, Diamonds ID, because then you get into sample size. This is all of Diamonds kids. Have you ever gone this in depth to it?
Not with Diamonds particularly. I've looked at my stable in general, but not a specific horse's lineage.
Okay, because this is what's key, because like you said, like we just saw, it takes into account like the average of all of them, but like when you go and know your horses and you look at the offspring and ancestry charts, one could skew it. So the key thing to go to, which is tough with Diamonds, is the most important thing you touched on earlier is confidence level. You always want to see, a lot of times, this one's a little bit of an outlier, but I know if I have a horse that has like 9 or 10 offspring, probably at least 2 or 3 are run in the teens at this distance. So you really focus on those more. And then what you do is, so I'll sort here, loaded Lux, a 2.8 and a 3.1 from the mom. So you don't really know which one loaded Lux pulled from because it comes from 2 good parents. And then if you go to this one, if you go to This Is My Legacy, you can see that the mom has a 0.7, but the horse has a 2.7. So this horse, the base ability gets really passed down from Diamonds. So there's a lot you got to look at specifically, because if you just look at the individual, I'll go back. So if you go to Diamonds here, and it shows you that the opposite happens, that the offspring were not good. I would. So yeah, if you go to Diamonds in the chart.
So and then when we're looking at class average ABA, so when our horse says 2.8, that means the class average for this horse is like a high C2 horse right under C1. Is that what that one means with a 2.8 ABA?
Yeah. And it tells you the story about what the expected base ability Zed is saying that a legendary Z2 should have. It's saying a 2.9, which is basically what Diamonds has. So it's saying a low-level C1, like, as we know, could win any C1 race at any time. That's good enough to compete in 3. And then in 2, you kind of know exactly what you do, and you can build money. Back in the day when you could get Diamonds in 2, you knew just how to build money all day with it. So that's what the 2.8 shows. And that's kind of an important thing, because as much as the EBA is important with a 2.9, if you still have like a Z2 legendary that's a 2.5, you might be a little upset with that because it's below average. But in the scale of Zed, that's still doing very, very, very well in C2.
What are we looking at here? Because now it says at the top 1400 through 18. So why not just 16 now? And why is it a spectrum of 14 and 8? Like what? What is that? I haven't looked at that part. That was very interesting. Like what was that data? Like what is, for every horse in Zed, we've calculated their base ability based on all 14 through 18. So it's another spectrum instead of the 16. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Honestly, I've never clicked on this till right now. I just clicked on the wrong thing, but it's exactly what you're saying. I guess if we're saying 16 is the middle, we're taking almost one quote-unquote standard deviation, where 18 and 14 are, mid mid-central on each side, a little bit towards a marathon, a little bit towards a sprint, but barely. So I actually kind of like that. I think Diamond's numbers dropped by 0.1 in this versus 16. Does that make sense to you, just knowing the horse?
Yeah, I get killed at 14. But question for you. So someone asked in chat, yes, OABA with the mouse is offspring average base ability. And then but where do you get that OZ score from? Why is that 0.6? What is that 0.6 coming from? Because we know if we look at EBA, if we went and looked at the 1600 meter and it says our EBA is 2.8 and our ABA is 2.8, we'll get a Z score of 0.0, correct? Because there's no difference.
Yeah, it's just not showing the column there. But what you're saying is right. Like there's an invisible OEBA that for diamonds on the screen is 1.7.
Gotcha.
They're just leaving out. And again, the way to get that would be, let's go back to the 1600 because it's easier to sort. By going, do you know Diamond's horse ID off the top of your head? I don't know.
67008. And Genesis said Shady has said the 14 through 1800 data is there because people wanted it, but that isn't more accurate than 1600 and could be less. Just be aware. Thank you, Genesis.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that was very interesting to look at.
167008.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, here we go. And why this is important is because say Diamonds was on the other hand. Say Diamonds is OABA was 0 on that stream, which would make you think, oh, all the offspring are bad, blah, blah, that kind of sucks. It could be a totally different story where you can have one offspring on here with like 15 races that's really good, and then a bunch of other ones that are lowly raced that are bad, that are skewing it towards like a negative, that are like slightly raced and stuff like that. So you got to use this similarly to how you use if you have the blood tool, if you use Know Your Horses, if you use Haku. It's just a starting point. You can't if you just look at if you just type in the horse's name and look at the score and compare it to the average, I'm sure over time you may do slightly better than the mean, but it's all about doing the extra mile. If you go into the detail of the horse and see that the edge is like to find a horse where the OBA says like it's but to then find out that every single horse that horse bred with is absolute crap. So the fact that it's producing horses, you might be able to steal it. So this is now, whenever stuff like this gets introduced, new arbitrage becomes available because there's more differences in what people value. I've been going out there and looking at the floor. Every day I go on here and I go on the floor of different horses on Know Your Horses and Haku, like some Zaba Legendary, some Buter and Genesis. And I've seen some slip through the cracks of people thinking that they have bad horses because it can't race, and yet it can't race and it can't produce. But they think it can't produce because they've produced it with 5 horses in their stable that are negative ABA. And the fact that their offspring is producing an average 0.5 shows that this horse can actually make something from nothing. So if you put it with something good, which my stable has then done since we started this, horses we thought were bad are now producing better offspring. So it's saving us tons of money now.
Okay. So how valuable have you found this tool? Just from purchase price, have you got your investment back from it? Was it worth it? What did it teach you about the game? Because I learned a lot. Like, I'll tell you, for me, like, coming on here yesterday, if you could just go hop on the Z reference page for me real quick. That's the whole reason why I went and bought the Z6 Finny Genesis. As if you go and look, if you just go and look at the breed score, so the Z1 Genesis has a 1.1 breed score, right? And then so obviously the next one below that would be a Z2. So just go and click Genesis.
Or just Z.
Yeah, just do Genesis for us at the on the breed or on the yeah. Yep. Okay. So boom. Very interesting, right? Like, it's if you can't afford the 1.1 breeding score with the Genesis, which the regular person can't, because that's like what, 12 ETH to get a Z1.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, a Z5 has a 1.1 breeding score, and a Z6 is an equivalent to a Z2 Genesis in breeding. So for 0.8, that was just kind of like obvious to me. And then when you take a Z4 exclusive, so now can you type in Z10 through 13 Finny exclusives?
Z. Oh, gotta get out of jail.
It's all good.
Exclusive.
And then you can hit.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that real quick. While what am I? Z10 through 13.
Yep.
Finny exclusive.
And then look at the breed score.
What's so interesting about what you're saying is for a long time before breeding was really taking off early on, people were saying that Finnies were going to be good producers because a lot of the Genesis weren't good runners, and now you're seeing it with the Z5s. I'm not willing to say it yet, but within Zed, there's a flippening happening where slowly Z5s may be flipping Z3s as the most valuable bang for your buck out there. And I might even be biased, and if these breeding scores are accurate and it actually is a 1.1 versus what we saw from the Z3, which was okay, but not a 1.1 for that amount of, multiple, it might have already happened. Z5s right now. What'd you get?
A Z6.
What'd you get? 0.6, 0.8, 0.68?
0.8 and
the
UU, or unraced, unbred, colt.
It
was a risk, but go look at Keep It 100 on KYH. I'm doing free races. I'm going to try and pull the Alhambra and get to qualify. But I was pleasantly surprised with this horse. Just keep it.
Yeah. That's why I couldn't find it yesterday. I kept typing keep it 100. Sheesh.
Yeah. I'm doing free racing. So, I mean, we got to keep it up.
Damn.
But, yeah, it's looking solid.
Yo, look at this that I bred yesterday using Zedge. Zedge and the blood. I use both. Okay. I use Zedge, Blood Tool, Know Your Horses. I use everything. Kavaya.
Damn. 14 races, and then you're entering this horse in the Winners' Cup. Is what you're doing?
Yeah, just keep on winning. Yeah,
the tournament.
It's run 14, so I should run one more so we can see what it'd be through 15. But ranked out of 10, it's in 15th place. Struggling a little bit now that's moved up to C3, so I think I'm still gonna make it, but this might not be like the great marathon runner when it was winning every single race at C5. It was 6 of 10 this morning.
Go horseshoe real quick.
Yeah. And
then go to the bottom. I would just keep it up with 26 because you still got the 100% flame rate. And then if you go free, if all of those are free still, I would just rock with where you're still pulling 100%.
It's so hard to make your distance 2,600 though, right? Because you gotta wait for that. And I'm just sitting there like it's good enough at 24, but I agree with you. It's sad when you come to that conclusion when you look at the horseshoe and it's that distance because it's like I could probably do really, really well if I just sat around because over the next 5 days I could get enough 2,600. But for the Zedge tool, St. Mark's Place.
But look at those breed scores: 0.7, 0.8, 0.6.
Oh, wait, go back.
It's fine. It's fine. Like Z4 exclusives, their breed score is like maybe 0.1 or something like that. So it's very interesting. You can click only as well. So when you go Genesis, go to the right side. So hit Bloodline and then just click, stay on the right side of the name, and then you can just click. There you go. Yeah,
I'm too old.
It's all good.
So 10, 11, 12.
You got to click the boxes if you want to go all of them. Yeah. And then so right there, like.
Am I a boomer? Jesus Christ.
It's all good. Like look at the breed score on those. Like that is for 0.025. You can breed a Z11 exclusive Finny. There's a 338 population out of 3,481 races. They have an average base ability of 1.2 and a breed score of 0.8. Like that's crazy. It's the breed score is higher than a Z4 exclusive, Z5 exclusive, Z3 exclusive.
The inputs are still decent though, right? Like how I'm trying to think like what's the average makeup of a Z13 exclusive Finny?
What a
Get a piece of paper in front of me.
Z7 and a Z6. So like what, a Z6 Naka and a Z7 Jenny. Z6 Naka exclusive, but there's so many ways you can get to a Z6, you know.
Yeah, there's so many different. Yeah. And that, do you put stock into that when you look at stats like this? Like, now are you just looking at like all Finney exclusive Z11s as like decent, or do you think the inputs matter?
I think the inputs matter. That's why I went and got Keep It 100, because I was like, all right, I have diamonds, I have Hi-Ho Silver, I make the Z4 exclusives every month. Now I have a Z6. So now if I make like a Z5 Philly Nakamoto, then I can make that Z11, plug it in, and then it has diamonds, it has concentrate, it has all these like killer Nakamotos built into it. And then I just keep that Genesis, at least one Genesis in my stable, so I can always hold everything at exclusive. Because if I don't have that Genesis, I'm always dropping down to elite because I have to rebreed back into legendary. But if I can rebreed back into Genesis, then we're at exclusive for eternity.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in breeding Genesis with exclusive. I just think that there's a reason that it starts there, that you're able to hold the line. So, yeah, that's my favorite thing, and it's one thing that got me to flip on. I always wanted the mom, and then I realized you did need Genesis males as well, because you kept breeding out, and then you had no horses to hold the lines. And then you were breeding down and down and down and down, and it was a little bit frustrating not being able to hold them. But we picked up Gravy Train.
He said great Golden Glow said Wall Street's in stud for minimum. Are you serious? I might go take a look at that.
Wall Street.
I don't know if I have a horse that can breed. Dude, I might do it at minimum. He is. I don't think I have a horse that can breed with it. Do I? Nope. I'm dry. Come on, Zook. Let's go.
What did I do?
Come on. No!
Yo, I was like staying quiet. I'm like, am I gonna pull this out? Am I gonna sneak through?
That was funny.
What is? Let's go to the Zedge of Wall Street.
Damn. Hey, appreciate it, Golden. He said, "I'll send you a Philly right now." Oh,
damn.
That was funny.
I wonder if that was a mix-up.
Maybe. He said, "Try again." Good point. Yeah, I don't got anything to breed with it.
If you look at just the score,
go to
it's below average.
Go to the horse detail page. Like literally, Wall Street is the poster boy on that page. At the top.
Like,
You're good.
Oh wow.
And so where's he good at? So he's so the pink is it. You get that black line average base abilities based off the 1600 meter. That's where you get the black dots right there. So if we're looking at Wall Street's best distances, it's 1400 meters, 2000, and 26, and then 24, because he's above average, and his average base ability is already super high. Interesting.
And that's he's, and it's saying like BA plus DP. So some of the bars, they're saying, as it goes to the opposite side of 1600, it takes that DP into it. Below average though. If we're gonna look at numbers and say,
Avon says he's below average, but he's the most consistent scores you will see with 600 plus races. He said, anyone in chat get it? Wall Street has a bunch of unraced and low-raced offspring brings score down. I wish we could isolate by certain offspring so we could only see the run horses and how a parent's OBA is based on only those. Gotcha. Yeah, like only horses that have been raced, kind of like block out the ones that haven't been raced, because there's no point in having them in there, right?
Yeah, I've asked, like, I've told the Know Your Horses guys, TK specifically, to add something to that on theirs where I could filter out the offspring under a certain amount of races, because I may want to only see the stats from 10 races or over, or 5 races or over. I'm gonna call a spade guy though, and the stats show there's 6 offspring in green. That means that the number of races that have ran is the most confidence level you could have. It's run enough races that any more you run, it'll be just as confident. 4 of those 6 are below average. Again, the average is probably high for some of them. So, oh wait, I'm an idiot. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I gotta look over here. This is the offspring page. So if we go to the one that it's most confident about, it produced an exact even. C-Rax, a Zabo legendary, was supposed to be 2.4. It produced a 2.4. The next one a little bit over. The next one a little bit under. A little bit over. A little bit over. A little bit under. A little bit under.
Look at Yorktown, right? 3.8.
Yeah. Again, it's 6 though. So when you have a horse like this, you actually can start isolating, because there's enough to where I really wouldn't look at. Maybe I'd go here. I'd go to capital gains. I'd go through 14. I'd feel really confident going through here at 23 and just going through the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
These are decent sample sizes once you get to the greenish, lightish colors. But the EBAs are high, so it's producing good horses. And if you're supposed to produce a 2.4 and you produce a 2.4, that's actually good. That's actually good. So even though it's average relative to what it should produce, if it just keeps doing that, it's not producing anything putrid. I guess that's okay, and a stud that you definitely paid the minimum for, right?
Yeah, and it's performing how it should. So we've got like 4 horses in chat that they want us to look up. So we'll start with Upscale. Upscale, his horse is Play, or my fault. The name of the horse is Play It Cool.
Okay.
All right, so you got 18 races is your sample size. Your estimated base ability is 2.4 with your actual base ability of 18. So that gave him a negative Zed score of what?
Do we want to compare blood?
Dan ain't gonna be mad at you.
Why?
Can you share that? Does he? I don't.
Yeah.
Know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I haven't seen anybody else go live with it and go deep.
No. He. I mean, the one time he was on my stream and I asked him, he said it's fine.
All right.
Trust me, he'll find me.
All right.
If he doesn't like it.
All right. I got you.
But this is what I do. So let's do what I do, right? If people are asking for our horses, I put up both, because I'm all about, like, there's so many horses and so much available now. Like, I'm looking for ones where both give me confirmation, because there's those out there. So I'm not settling for if it doesn't confirm on both ends. But okay, so Play It Cool.
A Z5 Zabo legendary colt.
It's underperforming.
But let's look at Know Your Horses as well, because he also could be
going to
1,000-meter or marathon horse, right?
That was what I was going to say next, because there's different things you got to look at. This is specifically for breeding. This doesn't tell you the story of is the horse good or not. Profitable.
It's 46% at 1,600 meters. That's not bad.
Remember what it is, though. We got to go here. Its speeds are like exactly average at 16. Like at both, it's it's not as slow, and it's not as fast, and like it runs the average more than the average, so it's legit like right in the middle. It's running like average at more than everyone.
One thing I
So
like to look at is the horseshoe on Know Your Horses, just to see how that 1600-meter looks. I've kind of stopped see like that makes sense to me right there. Like the speed is really hard to look at, I would say, for especially if for like someone new to come in and be like, you know, it took me a while to get speed, and now I've only really come in and started looking at the horseshoe, because I feel like if you look at Zed's tool plus the KYH horse tool, it kind of gives you everything you need to know.
I agree, but the one thing I'll say about that is until I learned about the speed thing yesterday, I actually didn't get the Zedge tool at all, and I kept questioning Michelle over and over and over, because I would look at a horse like this, and I would think that this horseshoe is actually good for base ability at 16, right? But then what you actually have to know is, hey, it's finishing at third a lot. You would think it's good, but then remember when you look at the speed, its speed is always average. So it's just the horses around it are who they are, and that's why it's creeping up a little bit. But it's really just running that average speed over and over and over again. So as difficult as it is, I think if base ability comes out one day that it is the fact, that it is what gets passed down, and passed on strongest, people will have to do a quick education on speed, because that actually tells you more than this. Because if it said the opposite, and if this was an opposite shape, but then we went to the speed and it said it was running fast, we would then know it was just the horses running around it. Maybe it was just constantly racing 11 of the top 50 horses on Novus Earth at that. So taking both is like cool and can help you kind of determine and start to understand where these scores are coming from.
Okay, so let me shut up, and let's just say, like, walk us through. Say you're looking at this horse, right? So walk us through how you look at this, the blood tool, all your stuff, and then how you evaluate a horse, and then I'll just talk.
Okay. Yeah. No. So first, we'll keep going. We'll keep going back and forth. First, I go to Know Your Horses.
I just want to hear. I want to see your whole process. Like, I want to see how you go about this, because I don't have the blood tool, and neither does probably nobody in this chat. So I want to see how you look at both of them, and how one hand washes the other.
Perfect. So this is Play It Cool. So I know I have a colt here. Let's familiarize ourselves with the horse a little bit as if we owned it. Go to Ancestry. So nothing yet. Okay, so it's a colt. Know the game, Zook. All right, so we're trying to see what we should breed this Z5 Zabo Legendary with. What I would do first is I go to this pair function on the, sorry, I got to say, so this is the blood tool. I hit the pair function. And then I add the father. And the father is a Zabo Legendary Z5. Fetch. And basically what this does is, if I was trying to breed out this horse, this tells me that the best thing to make with it is a Z3. Let's see what finishes. The horse that's most in C1 is the Z16 Fini Elite, but as you can see, only 2 were made. So I'm not going to test that. Always confidence and sample size is a big thing. So the thing that's been made most from a Z5 Legendary is a Z12 Zabo exclusive. The bad rate is actually really good at 70%. That's kind of nice.
What does that mean? A bad rate of 70%. What is a bad rate?
He has these ratings next to these horses that are, I forget. I remember when I first learned it, I knew what they meant, and then I just started using it so much that I knew I didn't have to know what it meant. I just knew what to look for. But based on like what class the horse is currently running in, is it running where it's supposed to? Can it not handle running at? I'm not sure, but just know that when it was defined to me, and if I can find the definition of it. It was a definition that I felt decent enough with, but I also look at C1, C2 rate percentage, just because that's like a dictionary definition. That's just a factual. What percent of these horses are C1, C2 horses? So this helps you find what you want to mate your horse with if you're looking to breed it, because this tells you which combinations turn out to be most successful. So I always start here.
So what were his most successful combinations? Like, what did they recommend him?
They recommended him. I would say he should run the thing with these tools is this question right here is the answer is very simple. Like, what's the best, what do stats show are the best things to breed it with? A Z1, a Z2, a Z3, a Z4. Gotcha. It's are you trying to find, like, are you someone that can only operate, you know, in the low dollars and is trying to figure out, you know, has this type of horse ever been bred with a Finney exclusive versus a, you know, Zabo, or a Finney legendary versus a Zabo exclusive? What's produced better? So from that standpoint, it tells you there. But like, the best thing to breed Zabo legendary with is a Naka Genesis or a Zabo Genesis, and the stats just show that. So a lot of times you're not going to get too much from this. It's more if you're trying to do like a breed that you don't normally do and you want to try a different formula or something like that. You can see what works, and you can actually hit show horses. So for these, you know, Z13 Zabo exclusives, you can hit show horses and it will show you all the ones that have been made, and in order of, you know, best to worst. So Howitzer's a good Z13 Zabo exclusive. Fall Again is a good Z13 Zabo exclusive. $1 Million Beatty, Rainer Games, like we do on the Zed tool. I think it's important to you know, go through the individual backup data to see what's making up the derived data, because one can really skew it. So you know, to breed out the thing I like about the blood tool versus the Zed tool is the blood tool makes it a lot easier. So say we decide, hey, I want to breed it with a Z3 Genesis, right? That's what we decide. That's where the blood tool really comes in hand, because then you can go into happy mate tool. Put that you want to find a Zabo, Genesis, Stallion, Z3. And this is what the Zed tool doesn't have. You would have to go on like Know Your Horses or Haku and like look for horses. I mean, you'd have to go into the stud farm, look for horses that are available, go into Zed, type it in. This tells me based on their breeding score that the blood tool has, that I can't tell you what's made up of that score. That's, you know, the secret juice that if you have this, you believe in that score. That's, you know, what it is. This tells you in order the Z3 is on the market. So like right now, the highest breeding score Z3 is Bluntside. I can tell you that Bluntside is one of my favorite horses on the platform. In terms of breeding, it's funny because the two horses that I talk about the most for best breeders for Genesis, a lot of times I say Bluntside, and for legendary, a lot of times I say Epstein didn't kill himself. And I have one breed from each of those horses, and those breeds suck. But I'm still out there advertising those two horses because I just know they're two really good breeders, and I'll probably go again to hit them over and over. But where this helps is you can see, like, look, this one's going for 0.8 and it's really high, but this one's going for minimum. And it's the third best one. And this one's going for double this one, but this has a much higher breeding score than that one. So it really helps you if you want to dabble around the minimums at these Genesis prices to find the best ones at those minimum prices. So this is the best thing on there, I think.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But then I do checks. So then if we want to keep going, my bad. If we want to keep going with my process.
Yeah. Keep on going.
So we go to Zedge, and now we do Bluntside. it's tricky, right? Because Blunt Sides never ran a paid 1600. So you can't know. You would think if the blood tool, if this turns out, that Blunt Side runs 30 races, 1600-meter paid, and it shows like a 1 ABA, and you find out that it's really good on the blood tool and it has good offspring, that either means that the offspring have just gotten really good distance preference, and that or that the moms that it's bred with are really good, but that this horse itself isn't good. But until it runs a race, you can't use this tool at all.
Okay. I'm going to let this dog out of the room real quick.
Oh, no worries. What type of dog you got?
Little badass dog. That's the one I got. Hold on.
No, Blunt Side is a horse I like. But Atrophy Aftermath is a Genesis Zabo that's at the minimum. It's the highest minimum Genesis Zabo you can get, that the blood tool is saying is Atrophy Aftermath. Let's put it on the Zedge together and we'll see. What did it say?
So let's get. While you're doing that, I'm gonna ask you this: what has taught you the most? Which one has taught you the most? Has the blood tool, has the Zed's tool taught you the most because it tells you all of this stuff? It's like, we're basing this off of this, so you can see how they're looking at things. Like, how would you compare the Zed's tool to the blood tool now that you have both?
What I really liked about the blood tool is it showed me that there really is something to breeding. Who knows what it is or who knows what it is, but it really opened my eyes to there is something to what's behind it. A lot of people that have the blood tool and have conversations about it, because we're in a Discord together, understand things at such like a higher level. I'd be naive if I said that I really, understand too much about it, but I've had enough success with it where I do think that there is genuinely something to the scores. Like, I know what the inputs are, and I know that I don't understand them completely, but I do think that there is definitely something to those scores, and that's why I go through every single thing as confirmation, and I go check the scores everywhere. The 1600, like, I understand exactly what Zedge is saying. It's more or less, is this true or not, right? Like I don't understand the blood tool as much as I understand the Zedge tool, but at the end of the day, you're really just believing in nothing that has actually been 100% verified by Zed. You could say they said things here and this Twitter space there and that Twitter space there. They hear all the rumors that people are swirling around. They hear that people are talking about different things, and they haven't come out and said anything because, they haven't confirmed or denied anything. So I think to believe in any specific thing for breeding and trotting like that belief out there as the all-knowing belief is a little bit of a tricky thing out there, and a little bit of a conversation that, I wouldn't have, or I wouldn't, ever say that, one is good and one isn't good. But I think you can use all of them together if you know the game to kind of say, hey, if know your horse is showing that the offspring just on a general eye test are good, then you go to the blood tool and it has a rating that is actually pretty good. And then you go to Zedge and it also has base ability. At some point, even if it's a gamble and a swing and a miss in a game where everything's kind of a gamble, you place your bet with that, and that's where you spend the money for. And to a question you asked me earlier, every single person should have Zedge. Every single person should have Zedge. It's so cheap. And even people that have other breeding philosophies, like even the blood tool, Dan Shan, who's probably the most known other one other than Zedge, says that a main part of any breeding finesse score is base ability plus something. So at the minimum, this is giving you base ability, whether or not you want to take that score and say that's all that's put into breeding, or if it's that plus things, you can still use that to derive something from it. And I think it's 0.025 or something for 3 months, or I'm not sure what it is, but it's basically a butte breed. It's one butte breed for the cost of 3 months. I don't know the guys. I've had very little conversations with Shady Lane, him or herself. So I'm not up here pumping anything. I think that everyone here now has the opportunity to have that early mover advantage and to start educating themselves and finding little edges here or there. And base ability could be a very, very, very general start to potentially take your stable from a smaller one to decently bred out horses.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just even beyond breeding, like when because I was skeptical of the tool at first. Like I kind of looked at it when it was free. I was like, okay, cool. And then they were telling me about it in chat, and then I think I was talking to you on Monday, or you were in chat on Monday. I don't know, but anyways, I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy the tool. Like they've been talking about it in chat, and so I went and bought it. And so now coming in here and like seeing the Z reference, the horse detail, like it's really helped me figure out where to race a horse. Like I really thought I know where to race a horse. If you go to horse detail real quick and type that in, like I found that as one of the most helpful things just overall. So if you type in Loaded Lux, I believe.
Yo, I like that horse.
Yeah, I like him as well. Not the best racer, but if you go scroll down to his pink, so I would race him at 2,400 meters if you look in the blue. Like I thought he was a marathon horse, but really I should only race him at 16. It helps you find out like very easy where to race a horse. Or just how to look at the market, why people are going after Z5 Finnies. When you look at the Z reference, and I had Arbitrage on, and he said, I really like the Z5 Genesis Finny right now. And I didn't understand it, but once you go in and you look at the numbers and the stuff, you can see why these big guys say some of the things that they say is because they're actually doing so much research, and like they'll scour the market. They're on here 24/7 researching horses, looking at horses. So I think these are very helpful, and it's like level 3 of Zed Run. Level 1 is MetaMask and figuring out what this shit is. Level 2 is figuring out how to race your horse and what you want to buy. And then level 3 is like really like scouting and figuring out the best breeding strategy and all that shit. So I think it's well worth it.
You think 3 and 2 ever flip the order and the steps that you just said them?
Yes. I think when this game gets very serious, like let's say like we're global now, I think, you know, like just like with stock traders, you got people that'll sit there and they'll sit there and draw their lines like, no, I think it's gonna go like this, right? So then I think give it a few years, you'll have kids that'll come on, they'll be like, no, this has Wall Street Sun in it, and if we go look at Z47s, they have a hybrid score and it's bred with diamonds and dank, and then its great cousin is a good racer now. So I think like this is going to be kind of like a 24/7 market, and people in the future, once we really understand this game and crack breeding, they're going to just look at numbers, because there's already all the data guys like you, MJ, all this stuff that I kind of like, I just shut up when you guys talk.
Laughably, I'm not a data guy.
But that's what, yes, I do think the research will become first before people pull the trigger. I think people will wise up.
Also, like if breeding may just be so much more lucrative down the line, where people may just come into the game and not want to race at all. May not even be worth their time to figure out if a horse is a good racer, because they don't. Maybe the game goes in a way where it's so much easier to just make money off horses that are known to be good breeders and stuff like that. So I think it's just that people went the racing route first because, one, it was available first, and 2, there was more stats around it because it was more easily able to be defined. But now with like Blood Tool, Know Your Horse is having a tab, Hawku having a tab, now the Zedge tool, more tools will probably start coming out. The more and more people have It's just going to be a cost benefit analysis versus work and payout. And if breeding gets easier and the payout on average is still, you can make more than grinding away on the $2.50 races, breeding is going to be the flavor of the day. And then where it gets even more interesting when you talk about the data guys is when the floor falls and the breeding price falls and horses get bred out. And maybe one day you breed a Z like 200 for $5 and you're flipping them for 15, but you're the best Z200 flipper like in the game, and you're just selling like 100 horses a day for like $10 profit or something like that. That's when all these numbers are going to be like, and people are going to be willing to pay a $10 premium if you have the Z100 plus Z100 combination or something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see. But yeah, I think like there's gonna be people that will go for the Grand Slam every hit, and then there's just gonna be people they're very consistent base hits, and they'll sell Z200s from a proven lineage on a consistent basis, and that'll be their game. I think a guy like Lucky Jacks could do something like that because he has so much. Like if he finds the right Z1s and the right Z1s to pair together every month in his stable, well, I'm sure he already does. All of his fucking peach or whatever. If he makes super coats every month, he's got that whole monopoly on that. And really all it takes is one person that wants access to that. And then, you know, it's like a leak. It just gets bigger from there, and then more and more people will come.
People like Lucky Jack or others that we can name in that atmosphere are really just waiting for the game to catch up to their operation, right? The game right now, and it's getting there. Mm-hmm. And like this is not me spread. This is actually like I think it's getting there. I think it's actually easy to see. You know more than anyone with the big races, and then with these free tournaments where people are winning, you know, crazy amounts of money. The game quite isn't there for that much of a premium, but once the prize money is bigger and bigger, these people have these operations ready to go, like Lucky Jack, like Donkey Teeth, like Arbitrage, like Dan Shan, like Shady Lane, like ready to go, where they produce these breeders that once the money and the winnings are there to constitute a premium, I'll be happy that the people that have put it in the work, so all of us can make a little bit on breeding, will start being paid out. Plus, you need that in this game to be successful. You want there to be a premium on good breeders because, you know, part of what we're doing is trying to find the good breeders ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. And if like your history or a proven record speaks all truth. Like you don't need to go out there and advertise for yourself if you have a lineage of champions that you bred. Other people are going to do it for you, and the money that those horses win that's going to speak enough in itself to where you won't even have to do self-promotion at that point, right? Like you'll be just known as the high horse bloodstock with these three horses or 4 horses guaranteed. Every 2 and 10 will be good.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I really can't. The ecosystem really starts becoming an ecosystem at that point where like people are just known as like the breeding farms. You go there when you want something. Like even so, people try and do it now a little bit, and it's tough. But horses are just not bred out enough where anyone specifically can be getting that much of a premium versus the prize pool. These horses have to be bred out, you know, maybe double as much. I think the average number was like 8 offspring per horse, which you can't really draw any sample size. That with the prize pools going up is, my friends have asked me, I said over the next 12 months, I think studs will increasingly be able to take in a premium on stud fees in the market. Because my buddy actually owned Epstein, didn't kill himself. That's not why I pumped it. He's actually a friend of a friend. My buddy Clyde that I know. He was my best friend's best friend in college. And that horse, and he's like, when can I charge a premium for it? When can I charge a premium for it? I'm like, not yet, man, but trust me, like the Zed tool says it's good. The blood tool says it's good. People know it produces good offspring. People talk about it, not just me. Just keep that horse and keep filling 3 at the minimum each month. And then when this thing takes it off, you'll be able to make maybe a few thousand a month.
Also, there's also the marketing side. You can do like a one Morticia. If you win a Netflix race and fucking you're proven that you can win a high stakes race. I believe he gets $1,000. He posts one Morticia in there for like $1,000 and gets it too. So there's a lot of ways to market your horse to where you can get that premium. You just got to take the risk on maybe eating some dust. So it's also good to maybe try and race your horse in a tournament, get it to qualify, win a tournament, and then yesterday's price is not today's price.
Do you think it will drive more of a premium if a Genesis wins on their kids, or if a Legendary wins on the Legendary's parents?
Good point. I'd say both, because for diamonds being good, I know the factory guys really value concentrate because he's bred diamonds. But then on the flip side, concentrate's also really good, so that's good for me, right? I don't know.
I think right now it's much better for the horses itself offspring, because we don't understand the game enough, and I think we're all just in the mode where like that horse becomes the celebrity, you want to breed with that horse so and so. I think in the very, 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 very near future, when we have like these big tournaments, like say the Z10 Legendary Finney wins, like an all legendary horse race. I think more so than that horse getting a premium, it'll be like the dad Z5 of that horse would be looked at as being able to produce that, because at the end of the day, what you're buying is to be able to produce that great champion, and that great champion you've never seen produce that champion. It's the dad. So I think slowly, as you know, some of these legendary and bred horses are winning these bigger tournaments, whoever owns the parents are also taking notice of that and not trading those horses anymore or selling them at a premium. I know that's happened a little bit. So it's a lot of fun to see it grow that way.
It's a great ecosystem, right? Like that's fun. Like it can suck to sell a horse and it turns out to be a Steph Curry, a Diamonds, a Dank, something like that. Like nobody wants to be that guy. But if you hold on, if you have the pair that made it, or if you have the stallion that made it, it gives you hope, right? And it can raise your value. It's like raising your equity, right? Like your neighbor, they just built a fire-ass house. They rebuilt the whole block, right? So now this one house on the block, or all these houses on the block, raise the value of their house because this horse went and did something, right? So
no,
it's cool.
It's such a if you own the parent, you got to root for the horse. If you sell it, it's hard. I know sometimes if you're racing a horse against it too, and you sold it, you don't want to. But I truly like for my Z1 ambassador, she's never gonna be a killer. I mean, unless they do a crazy change, she just is the horse that she is. So I know forever. It's much more important for her value as to how we breed her and how her offspring perform, because her value is going to be constituted by how much we can ever sell her UUs in the future when the premium goes up for these Z2 UUs when the game builds out. It's not going to be enter the Netflix race and win the $100,000 or win the $1 million one day. Even if the tournament was just for Z1s, she wouldn't even win that. So you slowly start identifying the horses that is the more important side of it. And you just can't do anything but start looking into the blood tool, start looking into the Zed tool, look deeper into know your horses, because it's crazy. Like Ambassador, I don't know the house. Ambassador may be the biggest asset that I own, and her value is tied down to how me, Michelle, Brian, and Bunchu put our heads together and breed her with another virtual asset. It's just like a crazy world, but like you said, it's an exciting ecosystem when it starts to get built out like that, where how an NFT that makes something and then gets value back from the thing that's derived from it, even if you don't own it anymore. Like if you just say it in that frame of mind, no other place is like that.
I look at these as ETH miners, dude. Especially if you have one that can win. Basically, when you put your horse into the stud barn, you're staking an asset to get Ethereum. And when you race, yes, well, you can do free racing now to have your chance to win a big pot of money. But if you have a horse that can compete in money races, you basically have an Ethereum miner. And when Ethereum's pumping, that's like the best fucking days, right? Like you're mining Ethereum is going up in price. You can get, now we got shit like a crypto.com card to where you don't even really have to go back to your exchange. You can just go from crypto wallet to crypto.com card and then go to the grocery store. So it's an amazing economy on the base layer, but it's also just an amazing time to be alive, to see all of this stuff to come to fruition, right?
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's great, like you said, to have these ETH miners that you can just play this game and make this money is super exciting. I haven't been as excited in this ecosystem in a while since before they released that these 3 tournaments are coming up. I'm obsessed with tournaments. I don't know about you. I am obsessed with these tournaments. Me and you, 2 very, very similar people in how we play this game. We actually may have slowly forked off a little bit because I think you've stayed true to continuing to race the high money, high level dollar races with diamonds. And me, I just race when the tournaments are going and I can hammer these them in like the free races. I've always thought that they were going to be the juice. They've slowly become the juice. I think there's nothing better than, you know, being in these grand finals and being able to take it and just having it is the game has changed and it's so fun. I wake up like excited to get these horses into it because to make the playoffs and to have those one-off races to make the money is just it's now slowly becoming an esport for me and my stable where we're like divvying up the horses during tournament week. You get these 5, you get these 5, you get these 5. Make sure you get it into the 25 races. Looking at stats, competing, and the tournaments are really. You're really playing an esport on Zed with these tournaments now, and it's freaking incredible.
No, it's awesome, right? And I'm with you with waking up and being excited, dude. I'm sad when I hit my 9 races, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta wait until I gotta wait.
That's
now.
The easiest. That's how stamina has. They got me with stamina because like the amount of times I've done iffy breeds now, just because I can't run any more races for the day with any good horses. I'm like, let me just breed a horse. So I get 9 more races on the day with something that might be good. But like, yo, I get so mad when my 9 races are up with a horse. I've been the past, like yesterday, I've been staggering to make sure not to run them all at the same time. So that I can get qualified for the tournament. I'll go through a few of them. I got Toy Boogers, 73 through 10. I'm trying to, my high life is, my number 1 mare on the Zed tool, and my number 1 mare on the blood tool. So it's just by any definition, it's my best breeder. It's a Z3 Genesis. Produced so many good things so far. Very, very, very exciting about it. Also, that horse Kavala that I showed you, and this is where breeding. We'll have a conversation in like 2 months about how deeper breeding has even gotten. Like, my high life is Cavala's grandma. St. Mark's is my high life son. So now my best breeder is what could be one of my best racers, grandma. Now it's like, does it get passed down double? Does like girls go to girls or something like that? And it's how deep does this get? Because maybe we haven't thought that much about grandparents because we're just haven't bred enough horses out yet, where once we do, there's going to be like a real correlation between them. So I think you just got to keep going with it. But
go look at Avila. Go like that. When I saw what that horse was, I was like, Z13 Finney exclusive. Like, if the breed score on those is very good on Zed, like, and I would never have considered looking at those horses before I had this tool, right? My ego just tells me no. A Z5 Nakamoto should be better than a Z13 Finney exclusive. Like, right? My ego wants to believe that because that's just what makes sense to me. But even on a deeper level, let's go. Satoshi Nakamoto and Hal Finney. Satoshi Nakamoto needed Hal Finney to make the first transaction on Bitcoin, right? So it makes sense that you could have a Nakamoto horse, but you need to plug it into a Finney to make the system work, because Satoshi Nakamoto needed Hal Finney to make the first transaction on Bitcoin. Just on a deeper level, that's the way I look at it.
I'm into all that stuff because the guys behind this game like are out there with that stuff, and they're like crazy, and they could definitely have thrown that in. I don't swallow my ego yet with, like, even when we looked at that breed score, I would still take a Z4 Genesis Zabo over, you know, whatever, like the Z10 Finney Legendary that showed to be a better breeding score. But I'd probably have an easy, like a Z10 Legendary over a Z6 Genesis. After seeing that, I wouldn't have that much of a tough time selling myself that. But Naka and Zabo Genesis, just those two in my mind, I built up so much that I probably wouldn't ever choose that over those. And on top of that, with Genesis horses in general, Naka, Zabo, and Finney Genesis horses, no matter what their scores are, I'm pretty comfortable always breeding them out. I'll like Prime Focus is a bad breeder. St. Mark's was a really good base ability, and we've never bred it before, so I wanted to test it, and we had Prime Focus sitting around, so I hit them. I'll never feel bad breeding out a Genesis horse, ever.
On the exclusive levels, what I was getting at, like a Z4 exclusive compared to like these Z13 Finneys. Personally, in my own stable, I would have never taken my Z4s and bred them with a Z7 Genesis. I would have just kept going Z4 back into like a Z2 and made a Z6 Elite, right? But now looking at this and then kind of just looking at the Satoshi Nakamoto and the Hal Finney thing, I was like, I don't know, man. It just makes too much sense for me to you know, not change up my mind. Because if you just go exclusive on the breed, and you just click only on the right side.
So you
not Genesis.
Should we look at the? We'll go to the blood tool after this, and we'll look at these as the inputs. We'll look at a Finney 5 and a Nakamoto 1, and we'll see what the best horses are. But
it looks like the 11s. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, just go Finney exclusive. Actually, just keep it exclusive. Look at the number 1 is a Nakamoto, but number 2 with a breed score of 0.8 is a Z11. So a Z10 exclusive is going to be okay, I like the legend. That legendaries are nice too. I haven't looked at those.
People like the leg buttes. Z10 leg buttes,
that's a
like a
1.0
Z9 with a Z.
score. That's good.
Yeah, people like there's a lot of good ones of those, like a Z10 leg butte that's like an 8 and a 2 or a 9 and a 1. That's interesting to see that if it doesn't turn out to be a good runner, because I think I have a few that I did with like a Z2, my Z2 that didn't turn out to be good runners, that maybe they're good breeders. Okay, but you look at this. Are you comfortable enough with this? Are Z5s better breeders than Z4s?
Are Z5 what?
Genesis.
Z5 Genesis. Just go look at the Jenny, and then we'll see. I mean, now I'm just looking at the numbers, right? So you said Z5, yeah. Z5 Genesis over what?
So even so we're saying like Finneys are better breeders than Zabos Genesis is what this graph is like. Are we gonna both make that statement? Look at this numbers, and for the people watching, say Finneys are better breeders than Zabos Genesis wise.
I would say yes.
Okay, I'll make that statement with you then. If you want to make it, so Finney has the number for the 10 Genesis, it's number 1, number 3, and number 6, and Zabo is 5 and 8. So clearly, Finney's, especially 5 and 6. I know a lot of people don't like 7 anyway. So even if we just stick with 5 and 6, Finney 5 and 6 are definitely heads and shoulders above 3 and 4, which is weird to play the game like that.
Hold up, we got Shady in the chat. Shady, you gotta hop up on here on audio
Yo,
chat
I'm
with
trying, dude.
You gotta do it, Shady.
Wait.
He said breed score is just comparing the horse to its starting class competition. In a vacuum, the Z4 exclusive is much better than the 13 exclusive in a vacuum, but they have an easier path to being a successful racer, albeit in lower classes. Best value though. Shady, we need you to hop
Oh, so he's saying that relative to where like a Z10 leg starts, it's the best value. Like a Z Finney leg, Z10 starts at a certain class that's like lower than obviously like a Z2 Naka Genesis. So he's saying because it starts so low relative to where it's starting, it's a much better value.
Right.
You know, than buying a Z2. But overall, like the Z2 is probably better than if those two were to go up head to head.
Gotcha.
I think.
I see.
He can.
Shady, you got it. You're gonna have to hop up here sometime, man. He said
Yo,
exactly.
Okay, exactly.
Score.
Exactly. That's the breed score.
Okay.
So BRD stands for base rating delta. This shows you the expected base ability delta for each horse type versus the average base ability of all horses in each of the 3 base rating populations.
He said soon. Hit us with the all dev soon.
If the Knock and Finney are good mixes with Zabo. Well, do we know that? Is this saying that Nakas and Finneys are good mixes, or are those two just the best? I don't think it's that. Then you draw it to like Zabo and Butte would be best. Like if Finney's still the best, I still think like Finney and Zabo would be better than Butte and Zabo in my mind.
BA is the absolute base ability. So
Shady Lane, if you weren't here at the beginning, if you weren't here at the beginning, Shady Lane, I defined it for everyone just so we all know that we're even talking about the right thing. Base ability is you take a horse's place point at all the 1,600-meter races paid that it ran, look at the class and the entry fee for that race, look at where it finished in that race, and then look at all the other races that were in the same class of the same amount of money at 1,600 also, and see what the speeds were of the horse in that race that finished in the same spot. And then you compare those relatively. Is that base ability?
He says BA/ETH is how much base ability you're going to get for the stud fee. So you get the most base ability from a Z5 Genesis for the .031 cover. Because it's cheapest compared to a Nakamoto Z1, you're going to get 48 base ability for the ETH because the minimum cover is .08. So it's a higher cover. Interesting.
It's all weird, and sometimes like I confuse myself just like going through all this stuff because
me too.
And it's so, theories are so tough because even the ones that will come to fruition or come out to be true or whatever they are, like you still fail so much. And you'll fail so much in a row where you're like, this can't be, you know, an actual working theory because I just missed like 4 or 5, 6 in a row. But it's just, that's how it goes in this game. And any theory is a huge sample size theory. So to do something 5 times in a row and like give up on it is just like, you shouldn't have even started then. If you weren't going to test it out, you know, at the minimum a year, probably that's not even enough, but at least I would understand that. But like if you try something like 2 or 3 times and you're like, oh, it doesn't work at this point, like that's silly. That's silly. I don't know what the number is for how many you have to do, but you know, at least double digits before you would come to any conclusion about anything when it comes to breeding about your horse, or just general stable philosophies. You're just gonna keep trying over and over again. If the things are as people say they are, you're just giving yourself a better opportunity to to finally hit the lotto one time. Nothing's a science.
So what's your strategy right now? Let's just say your Z1s. What are you breeding your Z1 mare ambassador into to try and get your best offspring? Hold on. Shady Lane said exactly. Basically, the ABA is turning the process, looking at how the finish patterns move from class to class and buy-in to buy-in, and then spitting out a number.
Yeah. So he said exactly what he's comparing the speeds at the different class levels and price points versus the other horses at those price levels and classes. So Shady Lane is the point of that basic. So like if I run in 12th place, but on average in C3, $10 at 1,600, that speed would be 3rd place. You're now picking that up as good base ability because the 12th would actually make you think it's bad, but that's just because of the other 11 it was up against. Where if on average that speed was good enough for 3rd, the ABA for that horse would pick up as good because the speed is showing as good.
Gotcha.
I hope. I think that's what he's saying. And my general philosophy now is we have a new kind of cool start because we got a Z2 Genesis the other month. So we're back to going and making sure that we put all of our best mares with him down the line. So we're really focused on each
3
month.
legs every month.
Well, this time we tried it.
He said
and it's okay. This ish. Okay, I'll take ish. This is the Z2 we bought. It has a 4.3 out of 52 races, which is nice. And a 2.1 for 139, which for what it's producing, it's over. So it's producing, it's producing high level Nakas that make money in C2. None have yet really done anything in C1, but nothing terrible.
That's very interesting.
But yeah, so we're focused on doing this. We hit it with actually messed up in our time, and we put it into the stud barn when one of the horses that I want wasn't available to breed. So we had to kind of go off plan a little bit the first month, but we did put it with Ambassador. I don't know if we'll do it again because we produced Susan Gravy.
Keep it gravy. I like it. Just keeping the gravy.
Susan Gravy is who we produced, and she's doing okay in the free, right through 10. She's in 24th.
That's not bad.
Before the tournament started and paid, she wasn't doing too well. But Brian, who's much better at racing than me, has kind of taken over, and Michelle has taken over racing Susan a little bit during this tournament. And you could see moving up from class 3 to class 2 and still pulling flames and performing decently. So we'll see. Ambassador really hasn't produced anything that great besides Sour D's, and we sold Sour D's. So
interesting.
My fiance just walked in. Sorry about that.
That's all good. He said
she'll probably be back in to listen to us, but she hears me talk about virtual horses all the time, so this is normal for her.
Gotcha. He says it looks at the Gen Pop mean times of every place, fee/class, and rank orders them and applies a value where they say a C5 second at $5 might equal a C3 fourth at $2.50. Say a C5 second at $5 might equal a C3 fourth at $2.50, and adjust every time Zed messes with the classes. Ah, gotcha. Okay, so
I think that's right.
Okay. See, I don't read any of this. It'd probably be if I actually read this shit, it'd make a lot more sense.
There's 2 important enhancements. We've added weight to the extremes, and we've adjusted all the scores to account for different competition by class and buy and even racing errors. For example, a third in class 5 250 is rated less than a third in class 110. Okay. If you perform really well if you perform to one of the extremes at one of the extremes, but your sample size is low at one of the extremes, could that throw off the ABA a little bit, Shady Lane? Like, say I'm not really that good at 1,600, like at the $2, but surprisingly I entered into like a 15 and I won. Is that going to really throw off the ABA at all to make it seem like I may be better than I am.
Then wouldn't you just have to look at sample size from there and then just go look on KYH, be like, okay, maybe it's only 3 races.
Yeah.
He tossed it into a big money one and he got lucky in one of them or something.
You
or
have
maybe
to,
on your second one.
yeah, no, because I'm agreeing with you. Because my question is, do you then have to use a KYH because it just tells you how many races it was, but it doesn't tell you like how many different prices it was at that distance. So you would actually have to look to see like how many of the different ones.
He said potentially yes. It's only translating the data we have.
See, yeah. So if you have 1,600 races, and for like $2 ones, you do really bad at, and then haphazardly at a $15 one, you do really good at, it may pump you up more. But that's on that's on you doing, like, they're just pumping you the data, right? Like we're saying, you got to go to know your horses and look into that because the sample size is super important. We're going to find out a lot of horses in my stable specifically that we're breeding out because like 3 to 4 races, they have high ABA. We'll race them probably 10 or 15 more times before the year ends to get a better score, and it will drop significantly probably, and we'll realize that we shouldn't have bred them together.
He said use take longer than normalize. Makes sense.
Yeah, only translating data we have. Objectively use take normal to daylize.
All right.
Normalize.
Well, Shady, while we got you in here, let's take some chat horses. Zook, how much, if you still got time, we'll do a little bit.
I got as much time as you need.
All right, cool. Well, I'm here, so I don't got nothing else to do today. I'm chilling, so.
I'm free until 4:30, then I'm streaming with Zombie, so I can go until then.
All right. What do you guys do? Oh, you guys got the...
He has his tournament.
That's right.
And, like, Zed hooked him up with the custom races. Which is kind of crazy. And Dank's in it, so I can still, like, 4K is up for grabs, so.
All right, we'll start with a horse I missed earlier. It's Yeely. Actually, yeah, Yeely. Sniper, if you're still in here. It's like Yeeli. And then we'll do Colorado Springer.
I've seen this horse.
Shit. Hold on. I put it in my notes. Maybe it's 2 eyes.
Let me see.
I don't know if he's still in here. Okay, Yeelli.
Yeeli.
Yeeli. And then we'll do like a quick breakdown on quite a few of them.
We have Shady Lane here. I want to ask you, Shady Lane. At what point can we just make a determination that this horse or that certain ones just don't pass down anything? Like if we're seeing that, it has a 0.5 EBA, a 0.5 Zed ABA over EBA, you would think a decent one, but it has 10 offspring, it has 79 races. On average, it's producing less. Do you think there's anything to not just the base ability, but how strong it's able to pass things down? If you're still in the chat. 25443.
Sniper, send in your whole stable so we can just pull up your whole stable instead if you want us to look at all of them. Is this what this horse is bred?
This is what Yeeli has bred.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. So, 5. 10 have raced. 4 are above average. 6 are below average. But that's not. You can't even stop there because then you have to look at what it bred with. Like its best. Some of its good performing horses, like it bred with a bad horse, it still produced a good one. But then we're getting into the mom ran 3 times and the kid ran 3 times. Could these be like crazy bad ones? I'm wondering if I'd say ABA is useless at sample 6. So Shaylen, what do you say? What would you say? 10? Would you say 11? What number should we be looking at?
He trusts the OZ more. The OZ score. Okay.
That's the Zook rating. I've been telling people the OZ is just as important. I've thought that because the BA is just trying to pass down to the offspring. But once you have enough of like the actual offspring, I would be looking at that. So the O's edge.
Okay. And
I have a question for
go for it.
is there a way for Shady Lane? Is there a way that over here there can be some metric, and maybe we can talk about it out loud because I don't know what it'd be perfectly like the average mom ABA or the average opposite parent ABA that it took to get in here, because I like looking into that when I like if the average ABA is really low, then for me it kind of makes sense that the O's edge is a minus and I don't put too much stock into it if it's breeding with something that's really, really, really bad. And it's producing a little bit less than average, it may be decent. If it's taking shit and turning it into like mud.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe having something over here that is the overall rating of what the other parent is on average of these 10 offspring can help people come to more of a determination as to if the O's edge is good or not.
He said, why does it say 10 offspring? So this is a Finney Genesis stallion. So have you?
It has 10 that's ran. 10 that's ran in 1600 paid.
10 that's ran at 1600 meter paid. Gotcha.
Yeah, we saw that in the last one where 4 were above the Zed score and 6 were below the Zed score on average.
Makes
but
sense.
Then you gotta look at the moms, and they're so it's not a one. You gotta like if you're gonna buy this and just think like blah blah blah. Probably people aren't going to do as well as you could do if you actually take the time to. You gotta type in the parent's ID, look at the breakdown of each one. Like Shady Lane said himself, 6 is not enough. Who knows what's enough? If most of the offspring have 6 or less, and then 1 or 2 only have like 25 to 30 races, draw your conclusions just from them. Maybe those 2 scores crazy change the average if you just take those 2 versus the average when you combine all the other fluff that has barely been raced.
OZEDS does that. It compares the actual base ability of foals versus what the combo of those Z foals would be, but not the specific Oppo parent.
And that's what I'm talking about. I think not that I think, because this is your site and it's amazing, but I would definitely utilize some type of score that did bring in the specific parent, because at the end of the day, if you're only breeding 10, and say this Z6 bred with all 10 Z6 Finnies, those 10 could be so off from what the average Z6 is that just to compare it to what 2 average Z6s should produce, I think we can draw a lot more of a determination if we knew what the average of the 10 moms exactly were versus what they should be at their given Z number and breed type.
You see what he said in chat?
So it takes into consideration. Yeah, see, said, yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. Is there a way that we can make another stat that brings in the exact opposite parent? Because then that would almost be as. Because again, if the OZ says minus 0.6 because it's supposed to produce something because it's been with other Z6 Finnies, but those Z6 Finnies are actually -1s. The fact that it's minus 0.6 is actually decent because of the 10 other Z6s it happened to breed with are below average.
He said, yep, we're working on it. He says, we're working on granularizing. It's just so rare we have enough data for the other parents. But yes, it's in the works. Cool.
Perfect. I think once that pops in, that will give you even more of an insight into how much that individual one is, passing on or has something to do with the outcome of the offspring.
Okay. And then let's go Colorado Springer next.
Ooh. 6. So we'll forget what Shady Lane said about not paying attention to 6 and in a vacuum. That's good. Can't do much better than that. Hasn't produced anything better than it was supposed to. So that's actually poor, right? Because if you're actually upset with this performance, right? If we take a step back and we're thinking about it. So we're saying it's 1.6, a Z score of 1.6, which means its ABA is much higher than the average should be, but it's producing what an average Z5 should produce because the OZ is 0. You get that? Does that make sense, or am I not making sense?
See, once we get into OZ and where the OABA comes from, if the other number's not on the screen for me to base it off of, I'm lost. So I see the O is 0.7. Like that's I'm sure it's really simple. That has not clicked for me for some reason.
Oh, so just like you see where it says like ABA over here and Zed,
right?
And like in here is the EBA,
right?
Just put that like an invisible number in your head, and because this one's 0.7 and this is 0, you know the EBA is also 0.7 because it would be 0.7 minus 0.7 to get the 0.
So it's
so
EBA
he's just kind
for a Zabo Z5 legendary. That's what that is over there. That's what it.
Well, this right here is like the OBA is. So this horse has 5 offspring. Let's just say it reproduced the other 5 it produced with. Just happened to be Z5 legendary Zabos also, so it produced Z10 exclusives. This is saying that the OBA of the 5 offspring is 0.7. I guess the OEBA, so the expected base ability of Z10 exclusive Zabos is also 0.7 because the OZ is 0.
Okay, so
it's taking into account of what the makeup was.
Okay, so for because this horse is a Z5 Zabo legendary. So the EBA would be 0.7 over there, is what it would say if it was there.
Yes, if it was on there. Yep. He even said in the chat he had room and they had to remove it. Like it's literally there. You just have to back into the calculation because it's just what he took out. The EBA is whatever it would take, whatever the difference between these two is.
Cool.
But so like if you look at this horse, it should be producing good because it has a 4.0 and it should have a 2.4, but it's producing at a 0.7 number when the average is 0.7 because the Zed is 0. So what this makes me think is the dads are bad. So what I would do is I would go to Colorado Springs 388
and go see what it's bred with.
4.3, see what the dads are, and you can see the dads are not very good. You can see the dads are not very good. The one that is of anything has been raced 2 times, so you can't make a. But like these ones that are bad that there's a sample of, you can see it's just pulling from the dad. So that's where you have to go into the. You think, oh, it's not producing anything, it's not passing down its bloodline. It's like no, these ones just happen to pull from the mom, and as it's standing right now, that's random. As we talked about earlier, I have the hypothesis that I think that's actually part of the skill. We're going to learn that some pass down more than the next. So if you have a bad base ability horse, but it doesn't pass down any of its base ability, that could be an asset because then you could just use other people's blood. But yeah, see, so this is one where, like I said, before I had this tool, I didn't know. And now you can start seeing, oh, it's bred with bad stuff. Try it with other good stuff within the stable. We're putting just good things together, and more success is coming out. We tie this. We look. Does it have good base ability? Does it have a good blood tool score? Does the know your horses drill down horseshoe check out to be good? It's becoming more and more readily available for people to confirm underlying assumptions that they have about horses, and that's exciting because it's exciting. You know, you come up with assumptions and hypotheses because you want to eventually prove them right.
And he said it's a low sample size. He said, or just not enough data with those. Those are low samples. So I'll ask this, Shady Lane. How much paid races at 1,600 meters would you like to see as a sample size on?
Yeah, that's a great question.
As like a clear cut, like, no, this is a good sample size. Yeah, no problem, AC Wolf. And then someone wanted you to look at their horse name on the blood tool, though. Butte Jack missed.
Butte Jack. I need the. Okay, I'll have to go to know your horses.
I'll find it for you.
No worries. Butte Jack missed.
How do you find it on Know Your Horses? You just go
It's
on.
it's in the
OpenSea?
URL.
Ah, smart man.
Yeah, it's in the URL. So if we go blood,
No problem.
so Butte Jack missed, and this is where we can compare things. This is a 1.23 is an average breed score.
He says he set his race count to 50.
Has never ran a 1600. Has never ran a 1600 paid. Butte Jack missed. So the blood tool says it's average. It and its offspring has never read. So from a baseability standpoint, you don't know anything right now. And you also can't, if what you believe in is baseability, you also can't say just because it's produced good, it's also going to be baseable, because you can draw it up to, it's either baseable or the two ones it's bred, it got the random distance preference and a little bit of randomness. So if baseability is your thing, you got to wait till it runs those 1600 meters kind of to determine. Yeah, Andy Matt, shoot us that big horse, the horse with the large sample size.
So what do you, so is that really just not enough sample size on the blood tool for Butte Jack missed at, or just in general, like, or does it just say he's not the best breeder? Like, what are we looking at for Butte Jack?
No, it just says he's not the, it's just the breeding score is like a 1.23, which is, it's like, okay, it's decent.
Okay. So, and he said
It's
he's
decent,
in
but
stud right now, but he'll run him at 16 when he gets out. So if he does good at 16 when he gets out in paids, maybe his ABA goes up, because he hasn't ran at 16 in paid, right?
no, not yet.
Okay.
Another thing, it's all relative too. So this is saying it's above average-ish for a Z20 Buterin exclusive. Like, again, how good can a Z20 Buterin exclusive be, you know? Like, even if you put a Z1 into it and it's a Z21 Buterin exclusive, like, what's the top a Buterin exclusive can produce? So you always got to keep that relativity into it. Like, if a Z100 has an average Z100 breed score, that's probably not that good, right? Because Z100 in average is producing, like, nothing.
Right. Okay.
So you always have to keep that into account. But, yeah, it should run. And I want to see if the Zed tool spurs 1600 paid races being entered more and more, because people know that that's part of what they have to enter
Probably.
to get a score here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this will spur the market. You don't have to run 1600 if you don't want to, because they have the 14 to 18. Shady Lane, what confidence interval do you give the 14 to 18 numbers? Like, say we're saying a one comp, like your baseability, your confidence that your 1600 numbers are tied to baseability are at a 1% confidence interval. If I go to this 14 to 1800 data, what does your confidence level exist around how much the 14 to 1800 data shows off how baseable a horse is? I want to know how much he thinks these two data points can lean to either way.
Let's look at just like old times on 14 and 18. He says if you run 14 through 18, just need to run the same amount of each.
That's huge, because someone that runs 16 and 18 and barely any 14 and stinks at 14, like, maybe skewed here.
Let's see just like old times on 14 through 18 and then 16. And then we'll look at always the last to know.
Okay, so just like old times, I want to write this down, is a 0.6, and the offspring are 0.9 in the 14 to 18. Now,
it had like 200. It had a really high sample size though. Just like old times. Big time DP horse.
0.7. So it has higher baseability, but its offspring are worse. Wait, let me go back. I think I messed something up.
47 on 1400 and 18 and 1800, 108 at 1600. Okay, 47 on 14 and 18, 108 at 16. I really like it for offspring data since it's higher sample size and hopefully you have offsetting distance preference within there. So no need to waste time on always the last to know. I forgot she hasn't bred yet. LOL. My bad. Okay, all good, man.
This is a crazy difference, though. Like the base abilities are pretty similar, 0.6 and 0.7. But if you go at the offspring ABA from 14 to 18, this horse has 0.9, where at 16 it's just 0.1. So that's a 0.8 difference. So this horse must have offspring that either goes one way or the other way, and maybe one that just kills it.
He says I really like it for offspring data since it's higher sample size and hopefully you have offsetting distance preference within there.
See, but if you don't, like, the whole thing could be skewed like this. Like, this could have one horse that's a crazy 1,800 meter. Like Dank would kill this. Dank would kill the parents on this because it dominates at 1,800 but doesn't do that good at 14. So we only run her at 18. So she probably skews this graph for her parents so much.
So when he says
this is a crazy.
Is he saying he does like this for figuring out offspring at a spectrum, or he doesn't like this? Because he says, I really like it for offspring data since it's higher sample. Yep. And so would that would be this, right? Because it's more
he's saying that because there's more distances, he likes this more, and he just thinks the law of large numbers says that if you run one at 1,800, hopefully you run another one at 1,400. And when you combine them all, there's as many 1,400 races as 1,800. So this, and we can look at that. We can look at the sample. So this is a 0.9 with a 140 race sample.
He likes it more for the offspring. Gotcha.
And then if we go just like old time, it goes from, it's basically a fifth of the races. And 3 less offspring. They run over 100 more races between 14 and 18, so you do get a better look at it. Oh, you got it for breeding? Yeah, see, there's tools like this now bring it in that you're not just going on Know Your Horses to see how many races you win, lose, place, and ROI. You can get a horse that never run it, and it could be the biggest cash producing horse in your stable.
And so maybe if he finds like a Z1 mare, like, because what was it? The Z10 legendaries with that Z1, yes. That's probably something like if he plugged that horse into it, if he finds someone to do a deal with him, if he found a Z1 mare, that might be nice offspring.
If we're asking my opinion, which means nothing because my ABA and EBA and my Zeds is probably right down the middle, if not negative, for how I've produced with my horses on Zed. But I would say that when I look at this horse, I wouldn't pay the premium for a Z1 to breed with it. That's just me giving my personal opinion. If you've been saving it for a Z1, it's been your thing, and I don't know how individual stables are made up like that, and that's where you want to go. Yes, the Z10s were so good, but I'm always going to think more about the individual inputs rather than like the grand scheme of, like, I would consider the Z10 strongly because of that stat. And then it would open me up to looking at the inputs to say, this Z9 Butte Genesis its ABA is below average for a Butte Genesis. I'm really not considering any average to below average Genesis paying that much of a premium. In this market and ecosystem you even brought up, there's deals out there. So if it got a rebate and it was able to get some cheap Z1 blood where it just took a chance at a Z10, there's different you can do. But in a vacuum, I'm not taking this horse and paying up for a Z1 blood based on this tool right here.
Okay. He says he's going to breed it with a horse named Get in Gear. And then we can look at what a Z18 legendary is looking like on breed score.
Wow, the blood tool says the same exact thing as base ability.
For what horse?
Slight for just like old times. For the Genesis we're talking about. Slightly below average Buterin. So like the 0.89. So really I wouldn't. See, and these are like when I'm saying, like when I go through and I see this, now I'm setting like this is a below average Buterin. Both things say the same thing. I feel extremely, and this is where the money I make my money per se. Like I now in my mind I'm at 100% confidence level as to like what this horse is. Not just even picking on this horse, like any horse where the two things say the same thing in these two systems, I feel great about whatever the information says. What was the parent? Get in gear.
He says 0.7. Yeah, 0.8. No, he's gonna breed. Yeah, he wanted to breed both of those together to make.
So getting gear is above average, and it's above average by the same amount that the other one's below average. So you'll probably.
We could assume that the OEBA would be what?
0.
0.0. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if the ABA and the Zed are the same, it means it was expected to make 0. Which for Buterins, a lot of times you get that because the low level stuff gets to 0, ABA or negative, so the expected is of that. So a horse that was literally the base ability of 0 got you 0.6. So you have to go to the next level 2254. This is the mom at 1.5. And it's 32. And it's an interesting one because the point, its best things it's produced are with like decently similar other parents. So that's a crap. If you're going to put those two together, God bless you. God bless you. It's I'm not going to tell you it's going to be bad, but the stats don't line up to. You're putting two average baseable Buterins together.
Let's do this then. Type in what was the name of? Can you go on KYH real quick and type in getting gear
Sure.
so we can get the name of his stable, and then we'll go. Me and you will look through his stable. All right. 4 farm stables. So if we type that in on the Zed's tool, we can just go and look at his whole stable and maybe see some combinations that he doesn't see, and maybe be like, this horse with this horse would be a good pairing.
Yeah, let's do it. Is this so far? Is this your 12? I just want to make sure if you have another one stable, we'll add that one. But we can look through these first. If these are your 12, well, Z20. So he has getting gear. Yo, this is my horse.
You bred that horse? He said, "Oh no, look at FFS Racing. My down classes are in that stable." Okay, FFS Racing on.
Give me a horse in that stable, brother.
Let's just look on the Zed's tool.
Oh, duh.
It's all good.
Oh, gotta get out of this.
Mullet, yeah. He just typed that one into the chat. Mullet. Only one race though, but good start, right?
Good news and bad news. The bad news is out of the 6 that have ran, 5 of them have a negative ABA, but the good news is not a single one has enough of a sample size to really tell you anything. Like really.
Dad's ABA on Liquid Courage is pretty cool. Even major, only 2 races, but Major Donkey's Dad's ABA. Maybe if he did some more 1,600 meters, look at that. The 5.2 rating down there. Major Donkey.
Who's the dad of Major Donkey?
Attempted failed Supercoat.
I agree, and And that's where this tool comes into play, because what you said is a play, right? You see that one of the parents has it, and it's like, right now, maybe what is it? Major Don. The mom is a -0.8, is a -0.8 though, so that's really bad. And what's tough is Zed is kind of trying to tell you, like, a Z55 Buterin pacer has a -1.5 EBA.
It's horrible.
You can't tell me breeding any single horse like that is worth it, right?
Mm-mm.
Based on that stat, if BA is what gets passed down, you're literally playing the lottery if you're breeding a horse that's EBA is negative, because you're only playing to hit a crazy distance preference. And even if your Z55 Buterin hits a crazy distance preference, what are you, dominating a few like class 5 races? Maybe, probably not even. With the way the game is with 5 classes, that this is just showing you it's not, some of it isn't, some of them scary, like a Finney Elite filly, like a Z25, that's nothing crazy. That's a 0 EBA. So that's telling you, like, that's like as chalk as it gets. A Z18 Buterin leg is 0.1 EBA. That's just putting two Genesis buttes together. That may not even be that much. It's kind of.
He said basically, we're also adding 1,000 through 2,200 base ability plus distance preference average. That should give us some good base ability estimates for distance preference horses that don't run 1,600 meters. Basically, need a Z1 to bring that to even C5 base ability av. That Finney 25 is unraced.
Yeah, you can see it's unraced. The racing doesn't have anything to do with the EBA, though. The EBA will always be there because that's like expected for the horse that it is. So whether it runs or not, it's still a 0. And the fact that it has a negative in front of it means that down the line somewhere there's a number. So it actually is a below 0 technically EBA, because you can see the 0 above it's positive. So somewhere down the line, this is a big one. So technically, by the law of, what constitute a number is less than 0, which is anything in the negatives, breeding a Finney Elite Z25 has negative base ability, which isn't good. And like, that's not that crazy down the line. That's not a butte. That's a Z25 Elite Finney. This game is tough, man. This game is tough, and stats like this show you how you're not going to hit, you can't hit that you're not going to hit that many of your breeds to be considered a success. Just hit a few of them every month.
So let's say this, then how much, because I've always thought Z number plays a major factor. What does this tell you about Z number, and what did you think before and after just looking at these numbers about Z number and its importance in the game?
I still think it's important because I think at the Genesis level, I'm pretty sure ABA just goes down equally. Like it goes from Z1 to Z10 equally. So your chances of passing it down are still the high, like to get the highest are still the highest if you start with those higher numbers. So I think keeping the Z number as low as possible, what you're actually doing, this now defines. You're now keeping the EBA as high as possible, not the ABA. The ABA could be anything, because your individual breeder, like we saw when you were streaming yesterday, I told you look at Ambassador, it was 1 below a Z1. So the ABA is lower, but if you hit it with higher Z numbers constantly, the EBA is what stays higher. And now we're learning that this may be what gets passed down. So in a sense, you're just saying hitting it with the lower Z numbers gives you the better chance at the highest floor of offspring. And this defines that for us, which is cool.
Yeah, no problem, Andy Mac. No problem, dude. Thank you for sending us your horse. I like that. That's very interesting. I like that the EBA gives you like a field to play in. It's kind of like saying, like, if you stand right here within the key, you're gonna make X amount of shots, or you have a chance at making X amount of shots if you're standing at the free throw line, right? But if you go to like a Z20 exclusive, that's like half court line. Let's say maybe that's like a what point. that's where like the negatives come in, right? Like you're gonna make less shots, you're gonna breed less good horses in that bloodline, Z number, and genotype. Very, very interesting.
And you might just not like run some horses. So like if you don't believe in sample size and say you have a horse that has like 2 races and the EBA is 3 and your ABA is 2, you might just screw the ABA and say like, hey, this horse is supposed to have an EBA of 3. It's probably somewhere around there, maybe. Let me just start breeding that more and more. So it really is the arena, like you said, that you play in. Because I also think it's like, can't your BA not be higher than your parents? So like once you go below a certain, like once you mix in a certain number, like I don't think the next offspring can get higher than that. So at the beginning, I think that's why it's of most importance to drill in as high of an EBA as you can at the beginning. Because once you go, like you lose it, if it's like you can never go higher. Once you lower the ceiling to a certain threshold, you can never re-raise it again down the line.
Gotcha. Andy Mack says next generation of EBA is going to take into consideration parent Z makeup. A Z25 fin exclusive with a Z5 gen parent is going to have higher EBA than the average Z25. I like that.
We talked about that earlier, that like when we were talking about the Z13 Finny exclusives, there's like so many inputs that like the parents could be that's a huge differentiator also. Like what makes it up. I even think as simple as like I like Genesis exclusives that make exclusives more than like legs. And that's even a more general sense. Like then you can get into like Z numbers and bloodlines and breed types and the different mixes down the line. So adding those stats, well, again, if you want to do the work, they're going to give us the information that you can really get an edge. Really, really, really get an edge. A lot of my bigger breeds since we got this are really just mashing faceability together and praying, and it's been nice. It's been nice, which is fun. I want there to be something to breeding. I want it to be as skillful as possible. This is a game. Like when I first found out about this, I was actually really against it because all I thought it was find a horse that's good at 1,600 meters, smash them together, and hope for a little bit of randomness. Through my research yesterday and our conversations today, you now realize that's not what it means at all. Maybe in a general sense, that's it. But when it takes into the speed, the cost of the race, the class relative to the other horses running the same type, it's so much more detailed and in the nitty gritty that you can't just look at how has this horse performed in the first 6 paid 1,600 meter races it's ran. It's really not that at all.
It's very interesting. He said look up Breezy. Yep. Oh, there's so much damn Breezys. Z31.
Negative.
But maybe look on whoa, look at him as the OZ score though.
Yeah.
And that's a high sample size. Only 2 offspring too. I mean, but would you say that's a low sample size on offspring? So maybe one of them is controlling that. Can you
and
go ahead.
Well, look, this could get into grandparent philosophies. The dad is a 4.2. The grandkids are much better than they should be. In the middle, the mare is terrible, but is it that the grandparent, the granddaddy is the one passing it down? I know some people have that grandparent theory in there where maybe they'll start tying the mom and dad to the offspring and not even look at the own horse's ABA if it maybe skips a generation in some combinations.
Yeah, they said he has a Z1 parent. Yeah, the dad's ABA is 4.2. The OZ is 1.4. He says look at OZ because he has a Z1 parent.
Look at OZ because he has a 3-1 parent. Wait. Breezy is 15.723, and this is a mom.
King County, shout out. And the average Z31 Butte exclusive doesn't have a Z1 providing half the base ability. Makes sense. Okay, so the average horse is not plugging in with a Z1 with that much base ability. So the average is gonna look fucked up, but this horse is kind of like an anomaly in some sense, right?
Wait, an average Z31 Butte exclusive doesn't have a Z1 providing half the BA. What is he saying by
Did they
that?
breed it right with a Z1, like a Z30, and then you bred with a Z1? That's what I was thinking they were saying about it.
Well, Shaylane, this is what I'm reading. So regardless of the parents, I'm reading that for a Z31 Buterin exclusive, their EBA should be 0.5. Their ABA is 0.3. So as Z31s go, it is a little bit of a better one, but taking a step back, you would see that the data is a Z1, and you probably wouldn't be too happy with that much of a more successful than average breed. Is that a way to put it? I'm not sure.
Hey, I got the buzzing fixed. Dude, I had this audio feedback for the longest time, and I don't know what I just did, but it's like touching a chord, and I finally fixed it. Off topic, but I'm very happy I don't hear buzzing.
No, I'm with you. I know the tech struggles. I'm worse than anyone. No, I want to see if he says.
We're cool now. Let's go.
If he responds to what I said, because I think I understand it. If that's what I understand, it's just a little bit better than the average Z31, but because it has a daddy Z1,
right?
You would probably expect it to be a little bit better than slightly above average.
Yeah, because that Z1 and the average Z31 Butte doesn't have a Z1 providing half the base ability, so we need to granularize it. Yeah, it's all coming from the Z1. It's uncommon. Hello, did you name the foal now? The gray-green one? Yes, I did. I named it in due time. He said its OABA is entirely based on the average base ability of a Z31 Butte exclusive, which is why it's low. OABA is high because it's a Z30 plus a Z1. Makes sense. Yeah, I think he's saying if the horse is getting.
I thought OABA was just the actual base ability of the offspring based on what. Why does the OABA take in the 1 into account? I hear you fine. Is it me that's cutting out?
No, you sound fine to me. Chat, everybody.
Yeah, you sound fine to me. Is it both of us cutting out?
I don't know.
Oh, yo, I see us on the StreamYard, we're good, but if you're on the YouTube, it's real choppy.
Hold on. Avon says he can hear us. Hold up. Let me go on the YouTube and check.
Yeah, because I'm on the YouTube, so I can read the chat also, and it's choppy.
No, it sounds fine to me.
Oh, we're good? Okay, perfect. I don't have the sound on.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it is choppy. I think it's choppy like video wise, but audio is good. Let me just close out some of these extra pages. I just got too much shit open, I guess. See, once I fix one thing, another thing wants to start tripping, dude. Come on.
All right, so to take it back to the people in the chat, OABA, isn't that the average ABA of the offspring of that horse? That's just taking the Z31. I see what you guys are saying.
Oh, it's buffering.
I get it. I get it. It's weird, but I get it. Okay, so it should take into effect that half of its blood that's going down to the grandparents is in fact Nakamoto blood, and it's not. So that would really skew it if they took that into account, and the Zeds would be a lot smaller because they would expect, something with Z1 blood in it to probably pass down a little bit more,
right,
than the average Z31 Butte. So okay, get a gaming PC. I'm on my work Dell.
Nah, this is it's me. I'm running on a MacBook. It says drop frames. Yeah, I don't know what exactly happened. If you guys are still with us, just give us a check. If not, yeah, it is kind of bugging, I think. Well, shit, man. We went for fucking 2 hours, dude.
We did that last time.
Yeah, I know, man. That was a good time. I think it's bugging major, but I'll just hit stop recording. Dude, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I learned a lot, dude. Still, yeah, we got to pull Shady up here with us one day, but